Good morning, over here from LEGOLAND Windsor, where we're back at a local park once again. And you know what, it's so great to finally be back inside of this park again, as yet it's been quite a while since my last visit here. And yet in this video today, I'm going to be showing you all the park's various different rides, attractions and of course shows as well. Along with that, I'm also going to be checking out lots of the different updates that is going on around the park. As yet, it looks to be quite a busy year this year over here at LEGOLAND Windsor. But yeah, without any further ado, let's get straight inside of the vlog. So it's now 10 o'clock, which of course means that the park is officially open. And yeah, we're actually just about to make our way down to our first attraction of our day. And as you can probably guess by the themed area we're currently in, that is of course going to be the dragon. But yeah, just before we get there, I wanted to quickly point out one of the best routes to of course get to the dragon. As you can see, a lot of people do actually head around Pirate Shores, and of course, besides the entrance to Pirate Fall's treasure quest, if you actually head down here through the Enchanted Forest, you can actually get to the dragon much quicker than of course if you do head down that alternative route. Without any further ado, let's go and head on to our first attraction of the day, which is of course going to be the dragon. Well, we've just had a great ride over there on the dragon. Honestly, it's such an underrated roller coaster over here at the park. And in my opinion, it's one of the most underrated roller coasters in the UK, to be honest. As yeah, essentially, it's like a dark ride, but also a coaster as well. As towards the end of the ride, you do of course head around a nice coaster now. And I've got to say, if you're towards the back of the train, you do actually get a couple of nice bits of airtime, and of course, especially down that second drop. Yeah, overall, it's just such a fun ride, and in my opinion, it's definitely one of the best attractions over at the park. Yeah, as you can see just in front of me, next up, we're of course going to be heading on to the Dragon's Apprentice. And essentially, this is like the smaller version of the dragon. And yeah, as you can see, it does actually have a new sign outside, and I've got to say, it doesn't just look so fantastic. But yeah, without any further ado, let's go and head on to our next ride here at the park, Dragon's Apprentice. Another ride is now complete, and that was of course Dragon's Apprentice. And you know what, even though it's definitely a lot smaller than the dragon, I've got to say that it's definitely quite forceful. And in my opinion, it could even be more forceful than of course the dragon itself, which is quite funny to be honest. But you know what, overall it's still a really fun ride. I've got to say, it does have a bit of a rattle on there, but to be honest, considering it opened back in 1999, yeah, it's still running pretty well, and overall, you know, it's definitely a fun ride. Yeah, next up, we are actually going to be heading on to Pirate Fall's treasure quest. And you may be thinking, what? Because of course, it is raining right now. But yeah, we thought, you know what, we might as well go and head on to it, as yeah, it has actually opened yesterday for the season. Yeah, let's go and head on to Pirate Fall's treasure quest. Okay, so we've just made our way off Pirate Fall's treasure quest, and you know what, that's actually one of my favourite rides over there at the park. And yet, even though it may not be the right weather for it, of course, due to it being quite rainy today, I can always enjoy a ride over there on that log flume. And yet, due to many log flumes over here in the country, closing down, it's actually quite special, that attraction. And of course, as I just said, it is one of my favourite rides over here at the park. Yeah, next up, we're actually going to head into the LEGO Ninjago world, and of course, take a ride on the awesome dark ride there. Of course, it's LEGO Ninjago the ride. And yet, even though a lot of people don't seem to like the dark ride, I've got to say, I do actually quite enjoy it. So yeah, let's go and take a ride onto LEGO Ninjago the ride. Okay, so we've just made our way off LEGO Ninjago the ride. And yeah, as I just said before actually heading onto that attraction, a lot of people don't actually seem to like it, but to be honest, for me, I do actually quite enjoy it. And yet, even though of course it does have the interactive element of course, basically being like a ninja. If you don't actually play it, you can just enjoy, of course, all the screens, the theming around as well. As even though it is a heavily screen-based ride, of course, there is some theming as well throughout that attraction, and overall, I do quite enjoy it. Next up, we're actually going to be heading on to another dark ride, this time over in the land of the pharaohs. And of course, I'm talking about Laser Raiders. And I've got to say, this is not one of my favourite dark rides. In my opinion, it's probably one of the weakest over at the park. If the weakest. Without any further ado, let's go and take a ride onto Laser Raiders. You know what, even though Laser Raiders may not be my favourite ride over at the park, I can still really enjoy that attraction. As we did actually just go on there, it was around a half an hour to 45-minute wait. So to be honest, it wasn't too bad for that attraction. As within the summer months, it can actually get a pretty long line, sometimes even reaching around 90 minutes. But even though some effects weren't working, most of them were. So I'm actually pretty impressed with that. And overall, it looks like they've sort of painted some things up. And overall, I did quite enjoy that ride. But as I said, it's not a must-do over at the park. Next up, as you can see just over there in the distance, is of course going to be Mia's Riding Adventure. And in my opinion, this is actually the most thrilling ride here at the park. And even though it may not look like a lot, it's actually really good fun. So let's go and head on to Mia's Riding Adventure. Okay, so we've just made our way off Mia's Riding Adventure. And you know what, that is definitely the most thrilling attraction over at the park. But you know what, it's still really, really good fun. Of course, the restraints on there, they may not be the best, they are quite uncomfortable. The ride's still really, really good. And of course as well, you can actually see Windsor Castle in the distance on there. Overall, it's a fun ride, and in my opinion, it's definitely a must-do over at the park. As you can see, we're now making our way down to the Harbour City Harbour, of course, which is home to one of the most famous shows over here in the UK. And that is, of course, the Pirates Skeleton Bay. And from what we do know, it is actually going to be returning on April 28th, of course, this year in 2023. But there's a lot of construction going on so far over, of course, the lighthouse and Harbour City Harbour. So, of course, I'm going to show you a couple of clips over here from the harbour. So I hope you enjoyed them couple of clips over there from the Harbour City Harbour. Honestly, it was great to see all of the different pieces of construction over in Harbour City. And as you can see as well, that main tower, of course the centrepiece of all of the shows that do take place in the harbour, has actually been repainted. I've got to say, as much as I do like the colours, I'm a bit sceptical because it doesn't really fit in to, of course, the Harbour City theme. Overall, I do think it looks quite nice. As I just said, I do hope one day in the future they do theme it a little bit more towards Harbour City. As you can see, we're now actually going to our next area, of course, Duplo Valley. And that is, of course, to take a ride on our last coaster here at the park, which is, of course, the Duplo dinocoaster. And even though it is the smallest coaster here, we thought we might as well go and take a ride on it. Because, of course, due to being the smallest coaster, we don't usually actually go on it. But, of course, without any further ado, let's go and take a ride on the Duplo dinocoaster. Our third and final coaster over there at the park is now complete. Of course, we've just taken a ride over there on the Duplo Dino Coaster. And you know what, that was actually really good fun. Of course, there's not much to it, to be honest, as it is basically just a very gentle drop, and of course, one turnaround at the bottom of that. But overall, it's still a fun ride, and if it's not too long of a queue, of course, I'd recommend experiencing it. As you can see over here with these huge gates, is of course going to be a construction site. And I'm not sure when these gates are going to close, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was in the very near future. As you can see, construction is taking place for hopefully a new dueling coaster, which is planned to open in 2024 here at the park. So of course, I'll go and show a couple of clips from here. Honestly, it's always great to check out all the construction over at the park. And yeah, as you just saw by the footage there, of course, that was the former site of raft races, which used to be 2 dinghy slides, which of course used to race your friends down the hill. And yeah, as much I did used to really enjoy that attraction, towards the past few years, yeah, the attraction was actually never open, of course, despite the track still being there. But yeah, we're actually now going to make our way over into Bricktopia. And of course, this is actually the reimagined area of course, Imagination. And yeah, this is actually a pretty cool fact. Just recently, I mean literally yesterday, they actually changed the name from Imagination, of course, to Bricktopia. And I'm not really sure what that's going to entitle, to be honest, as of course, due to it being announced only yesterday, nothing has really changed, of course, apart from a sign just up there, which you can actually still see 2 poles from. And whether they're going to make this like the other Legoland parks, because I believe there is some Bricktopia areas, of course, around some other Legolands around the world, or maybe they're just going to keep it the same, but I'm not too sure. Yeah, as you can see, Skyrider is going right up there, and due to it being quite a rare thing actually, pretty much just like raft races, I think it'd be rude not to take a ride. So yeah, let's go and take a ride over on Skyrider. So unfortunately, the weather has turned for the worst. And that of course meant that Skyrider did have to close. And yeah, if you don't already know, due to of course the sensors on the track I believe, yeah, Skyrider does actually have to close in the rain. But of course that does give me a bit of time to talk about this over here. And yeah, as you can see, the construction walls are up. And yeah, this is actually going to be for the Ferrari build and race experience. And yeah, I'm not really sure what this is going to entitle, and of course what's going to be inside of the attraction itself. But yeah, we'll actually be doing a construction update on here, of course, within the next few weeks. But yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about it. So essentially, I believe there's one over in Legoland, California. But yeah, I'm not really sure what it's going to be. I think you have to sort of like race, you build a car, you basically race it. But I'm not sure if I'm definitely correct there. But of course, if you actually know the past site of this, it used to actually be occupied, of course, by the Lego Reef. And to be honest, that wasn't very good. And it didn't really last that long either, considering it only opened back in 2018. But of course, I'm definitely excited to see that, yeah, this area is getting a new refurbishment. So I hope you enjoyed them last couple of clips over here from the park. Honestly, it's great to see so much construction going on, of course, around the park. And yeah, I'm not sure if it's like this at all the UK theme parks, but of course we will find out within the upcoming weeks. You know what, it's been a great day today. Of course, we've experienced quite a few of the park's attractions. Unfortunately, we didn't actually get to experience any rides over in Mythica, of course, which is one of the best areas in the UK. But along with that, there were a couple other little bits that unfortunately we didn't have time to do today. You know, the stuff we did get done, I'm actually really pleased. Of course, we did the Dragon, and also as well a couple of dark rides and coasters and flat rides as well. You know, overall it's been a great day here at the park, and of course I'd recommend coming down here. In my opinion, this is one of the best theme parks in the UK. And yet, even though the opening hours can be quite short sometimes, you know what, I would probably say a day, maybe 2 days for this park. You know, overall it's been a great day. Of course, great to get back here. Yeah, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.